What's up, guys? Welcome. Let me move this over to lawsplaining the interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. If you're ever in Minnesota and you run into legal issues, give me a call. We can probably help out. Tell you what, guys, today we have a special stream. Very special. This is an inaugural stream, maybe, because as a consummate capitalist, I will move with the market. And my gut is telling me that the market wants this information. The market wants to hear about this because my clue is that I'm seeing it everywhere. And of course, I'm talking about pedos. Pedos on every corner. It's ridiculous. Pedo America right now. It's like this sleeping thing that has been just brewing for, I don't know, centuries now. And it's finally, we've gotten rid of all these other problems that we can finally take the time to deal with this minor issue of pedophilia. Okay, so I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about right now. A lot of people think it's Trump. That there's this new focus and people who were protected before are no longer protected. I don't know. What I do know is that pedos are all over the place, and they get tracked down by the government. They get trapped into revealing and incriminating themselves, and then they get convicted. And how that happens might be a mystery to some of you. So I am here to propose. This is a modest proposal for you, the viewers at home. If you, at the end of this stream, if you think this is a thing we should do, I'm prepared to make this at least a semi-weekly series. Okay? Mithrin Emrys, yes. Pun intended. And I will get to all of the super chats in just a minute. But I am proposing to do a semi-monthly series, or semi-weekly series, or even a weekly series. It kind of depends on what people want to see. But if you guys like this type of content, I'm looking at setting up a system where we develop a system where someone gives me a zip code, and we go to the Sex Offender Registry. I will pull the data of a random person on that registry. We will not do targeted uses of this because that would be potentially a violation of the registry's purpose, and we don't want to do that, okay? But we will pull a random offender off of there. If I can get the documents for that person, I will take them, and like this case, we'll redact the documents personally, make sure that they're not identifiable because we don't want to harass pedos. That would be a problem, right? Ooh, man, that'd be just mean. But what we do want to do is find out how the government tracks people down, what kind of mistakes are made. Are these people adequately prosecuted? What kind of protections are there for people who might be accused of something like this? All sorts of different questions could be answered, and we'll do it with real cases. And where else do you get that? Where else can you get that but Rekieta Law YouTube? I don't know. But that's the idea. So if you guys, at the end, you'll have to kind of give me some feedback. There are all sorts of ways to do that. But if you want to see more of this particular content, let me know. But I will say that I believe, redacted every name and address and email address and screen name from, I did leave the government screen name in there. I left the government screen name intact. This is from 12 years ago. If the government is still using the same screen name from 12 years ago, they need to be brought down. But that being said, let me do the super chats and then we'll get into the final disclaimer and then we're going. So Lucifer Love Monkey opens up with here. Thank you very much for testing the super chat. Sorry, I broke it in advance and fixed it. Thank you for helping me test it. Same with Super Iron Bob. So thank you so much. Hashtag give Nick your money. I agree with him. That's a good thing to do, a good plan. And Mithrin Emrys says, pedophilia, minor issue, pun intended. And yes, the pun is intended. Okay, final, check your Twitter DMs. Okay, let me do that real quick. What do we got here? Oh, gotcha. Thank you very much for the DMs. I will see what I can do about that. I'm not sure if that content will work on my channel or not, but we'll have to see. Certainly, again, this is a big issue, and people need to pay attention to it. Okay, all right. Let me again clarify that this document is fully redacted. The goal of this is not to harass any particular pedophile or anyone associated with them. The goal is strictly educational purposes on how all this takes place. Is this where we watch? If you have liquor and a soul, I might recommend liquor. Let me clarify this. This content today will be, it will have some gross moments, all right? And some very uncomfortable parts. I of course do censor profanity, but you can't censor what happens, right? Like I'm not going to do that, which is kind of a weird thing, but that's just how I work. So, you know, there's some very uncomfortable language in this, and I don't want to let people know that as like some sort of trigger warning. I want you to be prepared, because some of this stuff will sting your soul. It really will. It really will. So, let's get into it. Let's figure out what is going on. This is a person who was prosecuted, has served their time, is on the registry, and will be until the day they die or somehow leave the country. And there's a moral debate to be had about the government maintaining a list of people who have ostensibly served their time, done their debt to society, right? But then there's the other side of the debate that says that this list is part of that debt and that will never go away. This is not the place to have that discussion. This is acknowledging the system that we have and going with it. So without further ado, thank you, Tillip, for comparing me to Ned Flanders. Beverly warning. Yeah, Beverly, yeah, it is kind of a trigger warning, but it's not meant for you to go hide in a safe space. Make no mistake. That's not why I'm telling you. I want you to hear this content, but I just want to, let people know what's coming. It's a little bit gross. So here we go. All right. United States District Court, Western District of Oklahoma. This is back in February of 2006. And this is a criminal complaint. All right, here we go. I, the undersigned complainant, being duly sworn, state the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. On or about February 17th, 2006, in the Western District of Oklahoma, defendant did knowingly received, good grammar there, government, did knowingly received child pornography that had been mailed in interstate commerce in violation of Title 18 USC 2252A, subsection A2B. I further state that I am a postal inspector of the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and that this complaint is based on the following facts. See the attached affidavit of Postal Inspector blah, 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 U.S. Postal Inspection Service, which is incorporated and made a part hereof by reference. And then that's coming. That's the next document we're reading in just a second. So this is the Postal Inspector. Sign and subscribe before the magistrate judge. here. Notice they left off the C on county. So good job, government, again. Snail mail in 2006. Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. There's lots of email involved, but mail is a way that, you know, I guess people thought that it would be safer. I don't know. We'll see how that develops. We'll see how it develops in here. So I, blank, being duly sworn, do hereby depose and state. So this is the postal inspector's sworn affidavit of what happened. Maybe Maxwell. I don't know. Mithrin Emrys, want to let you know what's coming in regard to pedos. Again with the unintentional pun. All right, here we go. And remember, guys, part of this, some of this is tongue-in-cheek, some of this is very serious, but part of this is the lunacy of how the government actually prosecutes this and what goes on here. And you'll see what I'm talking about very quickly, I think. So I'm a postal inspector with the United States Postal Inspection Service, USPIS, and have been so employed since April 17th, 2004. Prior to becoming a postal inspector, I was a special agent with the United States Customs Service from July 15th to April 17th, or July 15th, 2001 to April 17th, 2004. I am currently assigned as a child exploitation specialist, which is a very unfortunate title, of the Fort Worth Division of the USPIS and domiciled in Fort Worth, Texas. I am responsible for conducting investigations throughout the United States, including the state of Oklahoma, involving the alleged use of the United States mails to distribute and or receive child pornography in violation of Title 18 U.S.C. Section 2251 et seq. I have received specialized training in the field of sexual exploitation of minors. Again, with the weird wording here. To include the undercover investigations of persons who possess, transmit, transport, ship, advertise, to seek or offer and produce child pornography, child erotica, and materials involving the sexual exploitation of minors via the U.S. mails and computers. I have participated and conducted numerous investigations of individuals suspected of distributing and or receiving child pornography via both the internet and the mails. I have participated in the execution of numerous search warrants that have resulted in the seizure of multiple items that contain child pornography, i.e. computer systems and personal property. This affidavit is made in support of criminal complaint filed against name and address redacted, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73118 in the Western District of Oklahoma. The information contained within this affidavit is based upon information I have gained from my investigation, my personal observations, my training and experience, and or information related to me by other law enforcement officers and or agents. Since this affidavit is being submitted for the limited purpose of supporting a criminal complaint, I have not included each and every fact known to me concerning this investigation. I've set forth only the facts that I believe are necessary to establish probable cause that redacted has committed violations of Title 18 U.S.C. Section 2252A, A to B. The investigation. Yeah, and I don't know what the training entails, but I can imagine that it's disgusting. On January 9th, 2006, United States Postal Inspector Michael redacted. I did redact the names of I didn't have to redact the names of the government investigators, but, you know, like, again, there's no reason to harass any of these people or bother them or even ask them questions. Who knows what job they're doing now? This was 12 years ago. Maybe they're in jail. Wouldn't that be interesting? While acting in an undercover capacity, posted the following advertisement in several news groups on the internet. And just in case you're not clear, if you're in some of these news groups, get help. Get help. Get help. Quickly. Delete everything you've ever owned and get help. Niels Abel just got here. What are we reading? This is a charging document for someone who is convicted of possession of child pornography. And we're going to find out how the government investigated and convicted them. Mithrin Emrys, as Archer would say, phrasing, plus child exploitation specialist, sounds like a position in the Catholic Church. What? Ooh. 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 How will Pope Francis recover? Vidman. Cameron Clark. Vidman is the screen name used by the U.S. government official in this case. So don't jump ahead too much here. All right, so this was posted in several news groups on the internet. Private collection of very hardcore DVD and VHS available. Very hot, very sweet, and very young. If interested, email me at vidman06@yahoo.com. This advertisement was posted on the following news groups: alt.sex.pedophile. Like, they're not even hiding it. Alt.sex.pedophilia, alt.sex.pedophilia boys, alt.sex.pedophilia girls, alt.sex.pedophiles, alt.sex.pedo.moderated, because we wouldn't want offensive commentary in alt.sex.pedos, so they went ahead and employed some moderators for that one. alt.sex.babies, alt.sex.boys, alt.sex.children, alt.sex.girl, alt.sex.girls, alt.sex.preteen, alt.sex.preteens, alt.sex.young, and alt.sex.kids. And maybe these people should alt.sex.kill themselves. These news groups are known to be frequented by individuals who traffic in child pornography. What? Did your special training tell you that? Did your special training tell you that? Maxwell, there's no update on Poppy's case yet, buddy. A news group is an electronically maintained and distributed bulletin board system. An individual who has access to the internet may electronically connect to a particular news group to read and post messages. Each group can have some or all of the following elements: messages, chat, files, photos, links, database, polls, and members. On January 18th, 2006, let's have a first philosophical contradiction with the government here. Look at what these things are, and the government hasn't shut them down. I think there's a strong argument to be made that the government doesn't shut down things it should because they hope to use it as a tool, and that it borders on disgusting. And some of this stuff later that the government does traverses full into disgusting. I am not a government apologist here. Make no mistake. Mithrin Emrys, glad to know pedos had mods to protect their fifis. Wouldn't want them getting offended. Yeah. All right. Point 7. On January 18th, 2006, Inspector Redacted, who is utilizing undercover screen name vidman06@yahoo.com, received several emails from Redacted at yahoo.com inquiring about the advertisement. This redaction is the legal name of the person. So it's not like they had to connect these dots. They figured this out pretty quickly. Bagel Goose says, oof, maybe this wasn't the best listening choice for work. Sorry, buddy. Put headphones on if you're at work. Saurian Sky, Catholic Church's policy of dealing with outed pedo pastors, move them to another parish church, gotta spread the love, God bless. Oh, gosh. Isn't it awful? Like, I was raised Catholic. Hashtag not molested. I was raised Catholic, was blissfully unaware of any of that stuff ever going on around me. Never, I wasn't an altar boy or anything like that. But, man, just seeing, like, the widespreadness of that is really disheartening. All right. Following are some of the emails between redacted@yahoo.com and vidman06. Okay. This is from the defendant. What prices do you have, and do you have any samples? So straight out of the gate. No, Sean, I haven't seen that yet. So the response from Robert Millet, which is a fake name, which is why I've left it up here. Robert Millet, Vidman06. These are fake names used by the postal inspector. Thanks for the answer. Here's my list. Get back to me with your thoughts. Following is a partial list of videos listed as available. And here is your trigger warning because here are the descriptions. Catalog videos. 1104. Family fun action. Mom and dad show their sexy 10-year-old daughter the finer side of things. Both mom and daughter do a great job cocksucking. Mom plays with daughter's clit to the point of ecstasy. This is a really close family. 1105. One hot sex party featuring 2 horny girls and 2 eager boys. These 10-year-olds really get it on at this party. The effing and sucking goes on and on. One of these kids even pulls a dildo out of the toy box. These kids really know how to play with their toys. 1208. A mom and her 11-year-old daughter find daddy sleeping. She pulls the covers back and shows her daughter how to suck his big cock. Then the daughter eats her first taste of cum. Daddy then F's mom while masturbating her daughter. Then daddy gives the daughter some of his cock. Great cum shots in this one. I tried to warn you. 1209. 2 sisters ages 11 and 13 get nude and take a bath together. Close-ups of their bald pussies and tiny titties. An adult man enters the scene and the 13-year-old sucks and jerks him off while little sis watches. And guys, I have to tell you something about this. This is probably the worst part. These aren't fake. Like, these are real and the government has them. Okay? These aren't real, or these are real videos that the government has. And here's the worst part. The government sends this out. Like, I'm getting some comments about taking a time out and skipping this. And I'm not going to. And the reason I'm not going to skip this is because Bagel Goose says, you know, this was a really bad day to forget my headphones. Yeah. Here's why I'm not going to skip this. Because if we skip it, pedophilia remains a meme. Pedophilia remains a joke. Child pornography remains something we make fun of other people for doing, forgetting what victimization actually looks like. And there are people, there is a scumbag out there on Twitter who literally said that his crime, his comparable crime of consuming child pornography did not have victims. Okay? I'm not skipping it because this is the reality that we deal with. All right? So, next. So I apologize. I really do. This is awful, awful, awful stuff. But sometimes you got to remember what we're up against, what people and reality is. 1210. An 8-year-old girl goes in for an exam. The doctor fingers her cute little pussy. After a while, the doc takes out his cock and with the help of a little wad of gel is able to get his cock in the little girl's pussy. 1214. A long blonde-haired 9-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy kiss and use their hands on each other. The boy then munches on her pussy and then F's her in a couple of different positions. Great close-ups of penetration. 1215. Great kid orgy video. 4 kids, all around 9 to 11 years old, F and suck each other. These 2 boys and 2 girls F and suck each other like little porn stars. Very hot jack-off movie. Nice F scenes. Please destroy if not interested. Dank Plank says, I'm drinking heavy tonight. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And JJ Death. So the government traffics child porn in order to stop the trafficking of child porn. Yeah. Think about it. Your tax dollars pay the government to not only send this out, but they also pay the government because someone has to archive and catalog all this stuff. Because you know the government doesn't just have a stack of greasy tapes, right? They have a well-maintained list with those descriptions that someone created. A government employee wrote those descriptions, by the way. Like, a government person wrote that. Like, they didn't just get that off of the tape. Mithrin Emra says, dark comedy is a coping mechanism. Keeps me from needing a criminal defense attorney. Yeah, buddy. I'm with you. All right. These are just some of what I have in the collection. If you do not see what you want, I probably have it in my collection or can get it for you from one of my sources. The videos are $25 each, 3 for $60. Make checks payable to Robert Millet. We accept personal checks, money orders, or well-concealed cash. We do not accept credit cards. As stated, I want to increase my collection and always willing to trade. Look forward to hearing from you, Robert Millet, P.O. Box 9, Essington, Pennsylvania. The following emails were also exchanged between the defendant and Millet. So this is the defendant to Millet. Hey, I can trade some pics and some videos. I have a color climax video with 2 older women sucking a little boy's dick and showering and various pics if you are interested. Millet, the government worker, responds, I trade, but only on DVD and VHS. Defendant responds, how about video CDs or a CDR? I can give you a crap load of movies on CDR. And then the defendant follows up, if you want a CDR, I can send it today. Just tell me where to send it and I'll mail it in. Zarther, why so cheap? And then someone else asked, Neil Zabel said $25 each. Is that how non-rare these videos are? I don't know. I don't know what they cost. More importantly, I never want to know. Never wanted to know what they cost. I would assume that in 2006 that was the market value, but I don't know. All right. So then government worker responds, address on the catalog I sent. What do you want from me? Defendant responds, I would like 1215 and any of the following you would seem fit to give me. Then he lists, the numbers. I think he listed all of the numbers from the catalog. I don't really want to go back and look at it, but that's quite a few videos he requested. My address is blank in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Please don't let me down. Your CDR is on its way. Government worker says, once I get the CD, I will mail yours. What's on it? Defendant responds, it will have a lot of stuff on it, so I might send out more than one. Is a DVD-R all right for you? Government worker says, that's great. Can't wait to get them. Your friend, Robert. So on January 19th, 2006, inspector received the following email from the defendant. I sent a CDR and 2 VCDs. Let me know when you get them if you like them. On January 24th, 2006, Inspector Redacted received 3 CDs mailed in a padded envelope addressed to Robert Millet, Redacted, Essington, Pennsylvania. The return address listed on the envelope was Redacted, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The package was postmarked on January 19th, 2006 at the downtown Main Post Office in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Your affiant, along with other postal inspectors, listen to this sentence, because you paid for this too. You paid for this too. Your affiant, along with other postal inspectors, reviewed the 3 CDs that were received through the mail. One of the CDs contained 37 movies and 18 images. Of the 37 movies, 22 of the movies depicted visual images of one young nude female between the ages of 8 to 12 with a lascivious exhibition of the genitalia and performing acts of masturbation. 7 movies contain visual images of 2 young nude females between ages of 8 and 12 performing oral genital sexual intercourse and acts of masturbation on themselves and each other. 3 movies depicted visual images of 1 adult male and 1 young female between the ages of 8 and 13 involving oral to genital and genital to genital sexual intercourse. 2 movies depicted 2 young females between the ages of 8 to 13 and 1 adult male performing acts of masturbation on themselves and each other. 1 movie contained visual image of 1 young male and female between the ages of 8 and 12 and 1 adult male and female involved in oral genital and genital to genital sexual intercourse. The other 2 movies contain visual images of sexually explicit activity, but the ages of the individuals involved could not be determined. Of the 18 images, 2 images depicted one young female between the ages of 8 and 12, and one adult male engaged in oral to genital and genital to genital sexual intercourse. The images and movies of minors appear to be real minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct. Just in case anyone was under the impression that this was like hentai or lolly or something, it was absolutely not. These are real kids. The other 16 images were sexual in nature but were partially corrupted, and the entire image cannot be reviewed. The other 2 CDs received from defendant had been converted into video compact discs, so the movies could be played on a DVD player. One of the VCDs contained 2 movies. The first movie depicted visual images of 2 young females between the ages of 7 and 13 performing oral to genital sexual intercourse and acts of masturbation on themselves and each other. The second movie depicted numerous scenes of visual images of several adults and minors. 2 scenes depicted visual images of an adult male and 1 young female between the ages of 8 and 13, involved in oral to genital sexual intercourse. 2 more scenes depicted visual images of an adult male and 1 young female between the ages of 8 and 13, involved in oral to genital and genital to genital sexual intercourse. Another scene contained visual images of 1 nude adult male digitally penetrate a young nude female. Digitally means with the fingers, the digits. Between the ages of 8 and 12. These images of minors also appear to be real minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct. So Arthur asks, how do they determine age? And it's an estimate. It's an estimate. What you should get from this is that they're prepubescent. I mean, that's basically what it is. All right. The other VCD contained 10 movies of minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct and a menu labeled Best Kiddie Porn and Let's F Some Kids. This is what the defendant sent the government, by the way. If anybody was lost as to what's going on, this is what the defendant sent the government. We'll get to what the government does later. Of the 10 movies, 4 movies depicted visual images of 1 young nude female between the ages of 8 and 13, 1 adult male performing oral genital sexual intercourse and acts of masturbation on themselves and each other. 3 movies contained visual images of 2 young females between the ages of 8 and 13 performing oral to genital sexual intercourse and acts of masturbation on themselves and each other. 1 movie depicted visual images of 2 young females between the ages of 8 and 12, and 1 adult male performing oral to genital sexual intercourse and acts of masturbation on themselves and each other. Lucifer Love Monkey says, have another drink, folks. And let me just take a moment. Let me break the mood a little bit. If I can. Okay? I'll break the mood a little bit with this. I have gotten a ton of comments on videos that are not like this, right? Like on the Poppy videos. And it's usually from someone who is opposed to whatever position I have taken. And they say things like, you're a lawyer. Should you drink? Really? Is that professional of you? Or you should worry about how you conduct yourself on YouTube. Guys, this is the reality of part of a lawyer's job. We have to deal with stuff like this. So just remember that. If you've met a lawyer who doesn't drink, he's certainly not a criminal lawyer. Like, I don't care if it's the most staunch Mormon lawyer in Utah. That man's drinking when the door closes. So, Lucifer Love Monkey again said, have another drink, folks. JJ Death says, have 2. Gaston Heap says, Connor is gay, lol. All right. Let's get back to it. Sorry, I wanted to break that up a little bit. All right. 1 movie depicted visual images of 1 young female between the ages of 8 and 12 using a vibrator to masturbate and displaying a lascivious exhibition of the genitalia. 1 movie depicted visual images of a young female between the ages of 11 and 14 displaying a lascivious exhibition of the genitalia. The images of minors also appear to be real minors. So not just like people who look to be youngly developed or something like that. These appear to be real minors. So according to these guys, and remember, they have expert training on child sexual exploitation. not to bring the mood down further, but we paid for them to look at pictures of minors to the point where they can identify them by sight and be credible to a jury. Like that's the idea. That's what a child sexual exploitation expert is. That is someone who can look at the naked body of a child, and because they've seen enough naked children, can identify roughly what their age is based on that. Okay? So we paid for that training for these people too. Andrew, I mean, if you do, it's still assault. Still assault. Okay. On January 27, 2006, Inspector Blank mailed a verification letter addressed to the defendant. The verification letter stated the following. Hello. Hi, I'm Vidman. You should recognize the name. This letter is sent to protect both you and I and ensure that neither of us is being set up. Besides being illegal, a number of individuals do not agree with or understand this material. I'm not a ripoff and will be glad to ship out the product you ordered upon receiving an email message from you. Please send me an email message stating Vidman is the king, and I will then ship your order. I'm sorry for this delay, but I'm sure you understand the need to be careful. I hope you enjoy your order, and I look forward to doing additional business with you in the future. Sincerely, Vidman. Part of this is probably to protect the government from sending something to another agent. That's just my opinion on why they do that. But someone says, what are the chances these guys looking at the evidence are creepers too? I mean, high chances. I would say I don't know how these guys don't drink themselves into a grave, frankly. All right, sorry. On January 31st, 2006, defendant and Vidman exchanged the following emails. From the defendant, hey man, have you sent the stuff yet? Let me know when you do. Mail me back. From the government, I sent you something. You should have gotten it by now. Let me know when you get it. Then the government followed up. Are you sure you sent me the right address? February 7th, 2006. Mind you, these are postal inspectors. They got the wrong address. Good job, dummies. Everything's a disaster. Everything with law enforcement is just an abject disaster. February 7th, 2006. Inspector Blank discovered the verification letter was returned undeliverable due to the incorrect zip code. Like they couldn't verify the zip code. You work for the post office, you dummy. February 3rd through 8th, 2006. Defendant and Vidman06 exchanged the following emails. From defendant, what address... Learn to spell. What address did I give you? Government says... I redacted the address, of course. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73119. From the defendant, you got the address right. How big was the package you sent? Do you have LimeWire? Government says, check that address again. What I sent you came back. Is it your zip code? No. What do you have on LimeWire? Get back to me. Okay, so someone earlier addressed the mailing aspect of this using snail mail in 2006. Obviously, not everybody was. Some people were using peer-to-peer networking like LimeWire and Kazaa. And that's what the defendant is asking to use here. However, you got to remember where we're at jurisdictionally. We're talking about... These are postal inspectors. So this is stuff sent through the U.S. Postal Service. And there's reasons for that. If I can take a brief pause from the lovely documents, we have postal inspection has an exception to the warrant requirement, okay? So a postal inspector, upon possessing probable cause, has the authority to eliminate the warrant requirement and search any postal package that is coming through. So all they need is probable cause. That probable cause can be generated in all sorts of ways, and this is a big one. If you're communicating with an address and developing a train of things where you think that child porn might be contained in that package, anything, it's basically trying to think of what the what the specific exception is called. I think it's literally called the postal exception, but it's based on the idea that the evidence is moving from place to place. And so if they don't inspect the stuff right away, the reasoning goes, the evidence could either be destroyed or they should pass it on. Or like if they don't inspect it right away and hold it for, say, a couple days to get a warrant, it might raise suspicions on the other end, and they might not be able to uncover or not be able to utilize the evidence that they've gotten. So it's the same thing with a car and why they don't need a search warrant for your car. It's a very similar sort of exception, but that's why they're able to actually look through pretty much anything that comes through the postal service. You have given up most of your privacy to. So that's why they're doing this through the postal inspection. It subverts part of the defense that they didn't have a warrant to search me. They didn't have cause, all that stuff. Of course they did. Of course they did. Okay, so Mithrin Emrys says, can ID a naked kid age in a range, get zip code wrong? Yep, government employee. Yeah. All right. All right, so check that address again. What I sent you came back. Okay, so this is what do you have on LimeWire? Get back to me. From the defendant again. Hey, my address is blank, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73118. If you have LimeWire, we can trade videos direct without mail. And then the government worker sends back verification of the address, 73118. Give me your full address again. I hope you're not playing games. Also misspells your. He's either a fantastic actor or government employees are incompetent. Pick your poison. So then the defendant sends back the address again, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73118. It is very important you get the apartment number, otherwise there is nowhere to put it. Also, if the package, misspelled, is too big, I might not be able to receive it since it is a considerably small mailbox. I tell you, if you had LimeWire, we could trade directly without having to send stuff through mail. Now, if you noticed before, Postal Inspector was sending it to 73119 as a zip code. 73118 is what's now stated. Tillip raises a good point. Isn't it weird that some bald Armenian supports ethical versions of these videos? Ethical child porn is supported by certain people like Maddox. All right. Item 19, LimeWire, which was referenced by defendant in the above email, is a peer-to-peer application. Peer-to-peer is a computer term used to describe one user linking with another user to transfer information. Peer-to-peer or file sharing is a software-driven internet network where individuals share files from their computer's hard drive directly with other people over the internet using the same software. Each user machine becomes a mini server as opposed to a centralized server, meaning there is no central database that knows all the files available on the network. Instead, all of the users' machines on the network tell each other about available files using a distributed query approach. So remember, this is Boomer Posting 101. The Postal Inspector has to tell a judge how LimeWire works because a judge doesn't know how LimeWire works. Lucifer Love Monkey says, are they going for online transfer since it's considered interstate? They're not actually going for online transfer. That's what the defendant was offering. Their transfer is interstate because it's going from Oklahoma to Pennsylvania. The mailing address is Pennsylvania for the government address. So that's where. And the Postal Inspector is from Texas, but I believe they were mailing it with the return address of that Pennsylvania thing. So it definitely did go. It traveled in interstate commerce. All of the material involved traveled in interstate commerce, putting this in squarely in federal jurisdiction and not in state jurisdiction. That's the relevance there. But yes, any online transfer is going to automatically be interstate commerce and be within federal jurisdiction. But I just want to be clear that the defendant was asking for the LimeWire transfers, not the government. The government didn't ask for that. Biggest dickhead, no, when they got the address wrong, what they had sent was just, they had sent a letter stating, and this is kind of their safety test, right? Letter saying, I'm trying to send you some stuff. You need to confirm with me that you've gotten this so I know that I have the right address. probably because they don't want to send child porn to random people. The letter was not sent to a random person because of the wrong zip code. It was actually returned to the postmaster or postal inspector, and he went and then noticed that it was returned for the bad zip code. So no innocent bystanders received child porn in this particular case. I'm sure it has happened, but not in this case. All right. Okay. Through my training and experience, I have learned LimeWire P2P file sharing has become a preferred method to distribute child pornography. Individuals who are sexually attracted to children collect sexually explicit materials for their own sexual gratification. The most common method of acquiring the material is by trading the material with other people with similar interests. Correspondence between themselves and others who share their interests are treated as cherished possessions. Gross. Individuals involved in the sexual exploitation of children through child pornography rarely, if ever, dispose of their sexually explicit material, especially when they are used in the exploitation of children. It is further unlikely that the condition of those items depicting the sexual exploitation of children will be altered or damaged from the original condition at the time of receipt. And I don't know, like, the psychology or the legitimacy of that claim, but just that paragraph is horrifying. So, imagine being accidentally sent child porn. No, thank you. And that's actually a good thing to talk about real quick, though, to break things up. Thank you, Jonah Need, for making that joke. Imagine being accidentally sent child porn. If it was a joke, or it could be just a challenge. If that happens to you, you have 2 defenses to a child pornography charge under the federal statute. You should consult an attorney immediately. Immediately. Faster than you've done anything else in your entire life. Consult an attorney. The second thing you should probably do, but listen to your attorney just in case there's a state law in conflict with this. The federal defense for child pornography possession is to immediately destroy the material or report it to law enforcement. I would suggest destroying it. Consult an attorney and figure out the best. I mean, it really depends. Like, if you go by, say you go to whatever the equivalent of a Computer Renaissance is. Do they still have Computer Renaissance? And you buy an old machine and something wasn't wiped off like a backup partition on a hard drive, and they had a bunch of child porn on there or something. You should probably destroy that hard drive. But you might want to consult an attorney because they might want to use that as evidence for whoever possessed it first. But it's a real tough action to balance because the child porn is a strict liability crime. There's no intent. There's nothing like that. The mere act of having it is potentially incriminating. So if you are mailed by some mistake you happen to acquire child pornography, and it can happen in various ways. You find an old CD collection at an estate sale and you buy it, and right in the middle is something scrawled in Sharpie marker that says Daddy's Fun Time or something. Like, you want to make sure that you consult an attorney immediately. I'm talking you call everybody in the book until you get someone, and then you figure out exactly what you should do and listen to that attorney. And if they say anything even close to "I'm not really sure," call the next guy. Find the one attorney that no one talks to because all he does is sexual exploitation crimes. Okay? So just so you know, you should definitely call an attorney. You don't want to play around with this. There's no like going on 4chan and getting or our legal advice. I just got shipped child porn by accident. What do I do? What do? No. Nope. Don't play around. This will ruin your entire life. And if it's a mistake, you want to make sure and handle it with the silkiest of gloves. All right. You can call me if you're in Minnesota. All right. Sega Boy Mega says, turn off PC, burn house down. Not a bad plan. Unironically. And no, I would strongly suggest against buying a used storage device for various reasons, but that's a big one. All right, back to the documents. On February 8th, 2006, Inspector Blank mailed another verification letter, same as above, addressed to blah, 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 Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73118. So 118 instead of 119. February 14th, Inspector Blank and defendant exchanged the following emails. This is from the defendant. Subject is Vidman is king. The text box is Vidman is king. You got the right address. So then the government says, I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to send it to the wrong place. Now, buckle up. Your affiant contacted postal letter carrier Dan Redacted, who is responsible for the delivery of mail to the address in question. Letter carrier Redacted confirmed that the defendant resides and receives mail at that address, along with 2 other relatives. Also learned from the apartment manager that defendant is the nephew of Redacted and the cousin of Redacted. All right. So that's how they verify the identity. They talk to the mail carrier, see if mail typically goes to that address. Make sure it's not a prank or a troll, right? Javier Miedo, that's a good question. Let's talk about it at the end of the video. Remind me. Remind me when we get done with all the documents. Your affiant prepared a video cassette tape titled number 1208 and number 1215 in anticipation of a controlled delivery to Redacted, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73118. Your affiant. So your affiant, of course, is the postal inspector who is writing this document. If just helping anyone who might be jumping in keep track. Your affiant scratched his initials DMW into the plastic of the video cassette cartridges under the retractable protective edge covering of the video cassette cartridge. And you'll notice this sometimes law enforcement will do various things so that they can verify the identity of the evidence positively later on. Some jurisdictions, when you get pulled over, a police officer will come and they will put an uncovered hand fingerprint typically at a place on your vehicle so that if you drive off and they end up catching you, they can verify that you're the vehicle that drove off because they can verify the fingerprint of the officer who did the pulling over. Okay, so they have these little tricks to kind of make sure they can identify the material and say, this is our stuff, we can separate it from their stuff, or this is our stuff, that's how we know we've got the right guy. Those various reasons for doing it, but that's dumb. Nikita, sorry if you've answered this, but would mailing a storage device across state lines make the case federal or both? Typically, when something crosses state lines, it would be federal, although it very likely could be both. It depends on the nature of the crime. Just because something's a federal crime doesn't mean it's not also a state crime. Can the government send a random person CP and arrest them if they don't contact law enforcement upon receiving it? No, that would probably be entrapment. Buying feet pics. Can we get a Discord bot for announcing when you go live? Probably. I don't know how to do it, but if someone does, yes, absolutely. All right, back to the document. Affixed to this videotape cartridge case is a white label on which is handwritten in black ink the title of the video cassette tape, number 1208, number 1215. The video contains 2 short movies. See, this is what blows my mind right here, okay? This is, to me, this is part of the problem with everything. 2 short movies of minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct. Why? Why does the video contain any of that? Like, you don't need it. You've developed sufficient probable cause to get a search warrant based off the email chain, based off the material that they mailed to you. I mean, you have all the cause in the world. No grand jury is going to look at everything that happened until now and said, you know what? But the government didn't mail them porn, so I don't know if we want to indict. Nobody on earth is going to do that. That's ridiculous. So why the government has to mail actual child porn to someone is that, I can't answer that question. I don't know, and it bothers me. It bothers me. Sic semper tyrannis. The first movie is titled Incest Family and is approximately 8 minutes and 27 seconds in length and depicts visual images of a young female between the ages of 8 and 12 and one adult male and female performing oral to genital and genital to genital sexual intercourse and acts of masturbation on themselves and each other. The second movie is titled Children's Sex Party and is approximately 7 minutes in length and depicts 2 young males and 2 young females between the ages of 8 and 12 performing oral to genital and genital to genital sexual intercourse and acts of masturbation with a vibrator on themselves and each other. Gross. Gross. Your affiant placed the previously described video cassette tape within a U.S. Postal Service express mail envelope. The express mail mailing label affixed to the envelope bears the tracking number of EQ 217550016 US. The return undercover address associated with Inspector Blank is written on the mailing label as Blank, Essington, Pennsylvania, and the name of the defendant, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, appears as the addressee. A postal meter strip number showed the envelope was mailed on February 16, 2006 from Essington, Pennsylvania, with a postage amount of $18.80. Maybe it's their fetish to send it. Ever thought of that, you kink shamer? I wonder if someone made the argument, but I never got the stuff from the government, so I'm not a pedo. And maybe there is a fact pattern where it's sending out I'm certainly not an expert in how the government does this. That's actually kind of why I'm curious, is to find out how all this happens in different ways, because the government's going to have different methods for investigating all this. Remember, they're the trained child sexual exploitation experts. So, I kind of wonder the different methods that they're doing all of this stuff. And so maybe there is a fact pattern where mailing actual pornography to the defendant is necessary. I can't consider what it is. Mithrin Emrys, possible answer, they check the tape before arrest team arrives, prevents fleeing. Possibly. Yeah, that's possible. Possible. Don't know. On February 17th, 2006, so this was delivered... it was mailed on February 16th. On February 17th, 2006, at approximately 11:30 a.m., your affiant obtained an anticipatory search warrant issued from United States Magistrate Judge Doyle Blank in the Western District of Oklahoma for the address of the defendant. When express mail envelope is received and taken into the residence. February 17th, 2006, a controlled delivery of the previously described express mail envelope. If you don't know what a controlled delivery is, that's where they literally talk to the mail carrier. They put the specific package, or they have the mail carrier take the package from the postal sorting system, and they control the delivery, right? They make sure they know when the delivery is occurring. And the reason that they do that in this case is because they're going to follow it immediately with an execution of the search warrant. And so they want to know when things are going to happen, because they don't want the person to get it and run, inspect it and be suspicious. They want to make sure that the product stays where it is and doesn't get sent off, all sorts of things like that. Sev Rage, I agree with you, buddy. Okay. Travis Muir says, probably procedure for when it is payment instead of trade cases like this one. Maybe, but that sort of borders on entrapment, because if they're just soliciting these people, they might not have otherwise bought child pornography. And entrapment's a weird thing. It's very specific, and most people think it's broader than it is. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to review more cases to find that out if we run into those sort of entrapment type questions. But I would think the defense for that would be, well, except for this advertisement that the government put out, my client just went onto this board to talk about his pedophilia issues and the struggles he has on a day-to-day basis with like-minded people. They weren't actually in search of anything, and the government's posting this stuff actually exploited them. That would be a defense I could ponder. I don't know that it would work. Oh, did the bit rate drop? I apologize if my country internet did that. Gatscat says, can we start a class action since YouTube notifications deprive people of hours of entertainment by not notifying me even though I smashed the bell icon? Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know why. Like it hates Canada or something. All right. Okay, so the controlled delivery of the previously described express mail envelope was executed by your affiant and additional law enforcement agents at the address at approximately 2:25 p.m. Postal inspector posing as an undercover letter carrier delivered the package to the apartment. Defendant answered the door, then accepted and signed for the express mail envelope. The search warrant was executed a few minutes after the delivery of the package. The express mail envelope had been opened and was discovered in the kitchen of the apartment. The video cassette tape titled 1208-1215 was discovered in the defendant's bedroom, along with the verification letter sent to defendant from Vidman 06 on February 8th. During the search warrant, your affiant and FBI agent Kurt Blank interviewed defendant regarding his involvement with child pornography. Defendant was given his Miranda rights and stated he understood his rights and agreed to speak to Inspector Blank and Agent Blank without an attorney present. No, like, let me help all the pedos out there. No, 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 no. Whether you're guilty or not, do not ever speak to law enforcement without an attorney present ever. Ever, 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 ever. This is your entire life. And what you say and do in those minutes is absolutely crucial. Always get an attorney. Even if you're 1000% guilty, like this person appears to be, even if you fully intend to plead guilty and turn yourself in for whatever reason that's your already set up plan, still have an attorney present. Always, always, always have an attorney present. Defendant signed the warning and waiver of rights form at 3 p.m. Defendant stated he had been involved in child pornography since he was 15 years old. Bookham Dano says, that's not in the document. Super chat. Bookham Dano says, postal inspectors usually make these deliveries. It's the same when they find drugs in the mail system. Yep. Thank you for that. Thank you for adding that up. He utilized the computer located in his bedroom to download and trade child pornography by using LimeWire, Kazaa, Usenet, or by email. Defendant confessed to mailing CDs of child pornography to an individual he believed was Robert Millay or Vidman06 at yahoo.com. Whoops. I didn't redact it all the way. Ignore that. Redacted created the CDs and mailed them expecting to receive child pornography in return. Defendant got involved with Vidman06 by responding to an advertisement in a news group. Defendant stated he used the email address of blank at yahoo.com to communicate with Vidman06. Defendant also used the computer to download child pornography by searching for keywords of Hussy Fan, PTHC, which is short for preteen hardcore, R at Y Gold, and CCCP. Defendant also utilized the screen names of blank, blank, and blank. His AOL username is blank and would access AOL from an account belonging to his brother's relative. Defendant admitted he knew child pornography was illegal to possess and distribute. Defendant claimed he is attracted to girls from the ages of 5 and older and has a movie on his computer of a 3-year-old girl engaged in sexually explicit conduct. Let that sink in for you. Along with other numerous images and movies of child pornography. Defendant stated he has organized his child pornography on his computer by creating categorized folders of specific types of children. Some people do it with memes, other people do it with child porn. Defendant stated he knew it was wrong and considers himself to be a pedophile. Defendant provided Inspector Blank and Agent Blank a written sworn statement of these facts. further affiant saith not. So that's the end of this document. Brad Burns, this is 2006. 2006. We've got one more document. So this is a federal case. This is a federal felony case. It is done by indictment by a grand jury. So state felony cases can be brought typically by your state or your county attorneys, depending on the charges. Some states require a grand jury in murder charges or something like that, but lower felonies don't necessarily need that. It really is state specific as to whether a grand jury is used at all and what extent they're required. In Minnesota, grand juries are not required for homicide cases, but sometimes they are utilized in homicide cases to bolster the charging attorney's support. For example, like when a cop shoots someone, sometimes they want to have that grand jury back up and say, no, we had other people review the evidence too. This isn't just a political type thing. Mithrin Emrys says, CCCP, the Soviets created child porn, confirmed we found the true Russian conspiracy. Yep. All right. So this is the grand jury indictment. So if you don't know how grand juries work, grand juries are this weird process where they bring in a grand jury. Only a prosecutor makes a case. They make a case for bringing charges. They have limited standards, they have relaxed standards on evidence. So grand jury charges can be brought. Just finished this. That's sad. Grand juries can analyze evidence that would not be allowed at trial to bring the charges, to determine if there is probable cause to bring the charges. So they have different standards. There's no defense attorney typically in a grand jury proceeding. Usually it's just the prosecution making their case. And it's just them saying, look, we have built this case. Is this enough for you people to say this guy should go to trial? Or should we just let them go right now? That's how a grand jury works. Gatsgat says there's this Canadian man who identifies himself as a 6-year-old girl. Left his wife and his kids to live with an old couple. Are they pedos if they F him? Yes. Yes. See you later, Nikita. Thanks for joining us. All right. So here is the indictment that came from the grand jury. There are 5 counts to this indictment. Each count is a felony on its own. Each count would carry significant prison time, and we'll talk about what the person was convicted of and all that stuff in just a minute. The reason I'm going through all of this stuff is because this is a side note. After someone has been found guilty and then they're out and they're just on the registry, right? They might try to do something like lie, right? Like they might say, oh, yeah, I was convicted for this, but what that really was like anime, right? Like it was an anime girl or it was something like that. And it was kind of bogus. I'm not a weirdo because it was just like lolly porn or something like that. Which is different. I'm just a digibro. I'm not a pedo. It would be the argument, right? That's what someone might say on like social media or something. But I want you to know that this is what the person's actually charged with. And, it's important to know that the U.S. government is charging people for real crimes too on occasion. Not just fake crimes. Sometimes they're real. And sometimes they involve real kids and who are really exploited. And if you were involved in this, if by some miracle my stream happens to get to the random person with the redacted documents here, and you happen to be watching this, what you did was disgusting, and it wasn't anime, and it definitely involved real kids and real victims. And the fact that you might think that there aren't real victims from this crime, because some people have alleged that child pornography is victimless, means that you aren't rehabilitated and maybe you should go back to prison. Just a thought. So, all right. So the indictment. Federal grand jury charges. Count 1. On or about January 19th within the Western District of Oklahoma and elsewhere, defendant knowingly distributed child pornography that was mailed in interstate commerce, in that defendant mailed a compact disc containing movies and images of child pornography that included movies depicting visual images of an adult male and a young girl between the ages of 8 and 13 years of age involved in oral to genital and genital to genital sexual intercourse. All in violation of Title 18 USC 225A. I'm not going to read that. It's the same U.S. Code title. I'm not going to read it every time. Count 2. On or about January 19th, 2006, within the Western District of Oklahoma, defendant knowingly distributed child pornography that was mailed in interstate commerce, in that defendant mailed a video compact disc that contained movies depicting images of young girls between the ages of 7 and 13 years of age involved in sexually explicit conduct. Count 3. Defendant knowingly distributed child pornography that was mailed in interstate commerce, in that defendant mailed a video compact disc that contained movies including a movie depicting images of a young girl between the ages of 8 and 13 years of age involved in engaged in sexually explicit conduct with an adult male. Count 4. Defendant knowingly possessed computer discs and other material that contained images of child pornography that were produced using materials that had been mailed, shipped, and transported in interstate or foreign commerce by any means, including by computer, in that defendant had a movie stored on his computer entitled Little Preteen Girl with Blowjob.avi that depicts a 7 to 8-year-old girl engaged in oral sex with an adult male. And count 5. Defendant knowingly possessed computer discs and other material that contained images of child pornography that were produced using materials that had been mailed, shipped, and transported in interstate or foreign commerce by any means, including by computer, in that defendant had a movie stored on his computer entitled DC or DE, I don't know if that's just messed up, 28.mpg, that depicts a 5 to 6-year-old girl engaged in oral sex with an adult male. And that was signed by the foreperson of the grand jury and the assistant U.S. attorney. And then there's a criminal cover sheet, but this isn't... he had a $10,000 bail, was not held for custody during trial, or prior to trial. And then the counts 1 to 3 were not less than 5 and not more than 20 years in prison, $250,000 fine or both. And then not more than 3 years supervised release. Counts 4 and 5 each carried not more than 10 years imprisonment, $250,000 fine or both, and not more than 3 years of supervised release, and $100 fine on both of those. So what happened? What happened with this case is that the defendant in question pled guilty to count 5. The other accounts were dropped, or the other counts, not accounts. The other counts were dropped as part of the plea agreement. The defendant was sentenced to 60 months in prison along with a $100 fine, and of course had probation afterwards, and then had to register as a sex offender for the rest of their life, no matter where they go. As a dangerous sexual predator. So not just a sex offender, there are various levels. Their level is sexual predator. They're considered dangerous. They are considered likely to engage in recidivism or re-engage in the same conduct. So that's what this person has to live with for the rest of their life based on their actions. And they pled guilty to that. They chose this outcome, which is another important thing, because some people act like they're the victim when they have this stuff. They did not fight this. They did not, they made admissions to the police, and then they went ahead and pled guilty to this, knowing full well what the punishments would be very much in advance. So that's how this case turned out. Yeah, $100 fine. Yeah. And this person did not serve the full 60 months in prison because, there are various ways to get out of prison a little faster, but they did serve a significant amount of time. I believe it was 4 years, 48 months. But that's how it went. They faced quite a bit more than 48 months, but that's what they ended up serving. So, and it's really hard to maintain my defense attorney posture for people like this. Just to be a little bit clear on that, my gut reaction is that they deserve a rope. But that's the risk of misenforcing that is a problem. But that's what happened. So there you go. That is how the government tracked down this particular pedophile, how the government built a case against them. You can see it was a very long process. It involved email. It involved regular mail. It involved the sending of explicit material from both parties to both parties. It involved the government knowing about various boards where these pedophiles congregate and potentially exchange explicit material. The government put out an advertisement and then did nothing after that. They allowed them to engage and query the ad. And then if you notice, some of the interesting stuff about this to me was that the government really let the defendant lead the action, right? I'll trade with you. Like the government advertisement said, I'm willing to trade. I have but it's $25 a piece. It's like, I'll trade with you. I'll send you all this stuff. Where do I send it? I'll send it tomorrow. Very active, very anxious to get this stuff taken care of. So if any of you have any further questions, Smurf asks, as a defense attorney, would you have to see the evidence? Could you opt out? Would I have to see the evidence is no. Would I see the evidence? I would not want to. It would really, really depend on if there were severe questions of its legitimacy. As a defense attorney, do you have to review every single piece of evidence? No. You don't have to do that to properly advise your client. So, I don't want to be in that position. We'll put it that way. I have not had to defend a case involving child pornography. Thank God. Thank God. Truly. I don't want to be in that position. Depending on the circumstances, I may take the case if I believe that the person is credibly not guilty or that I can offer them something. But the review of that material would not be high on my list of things to do. Bagel Goose says, well, this was a fun first live stream. Sorry, buddy. Grug, I like the format, but could it be done with other crimes, like how the government catches and convicts other types of criminals? Yes, in theory. The thing with sexual crimes, and it's not all pedophilia, right? Like rape convictions, various other sexual assaults, stuff like that could be done. There's a sex offender registry that has this nice list of people that allow you to easily find documents of a particular type of crime. Looking for other types of crime, you tend to have to know the specific person or have some sort of method for finding these materials. But it's absolutely possible with all sorts of other things. So yes. Could someone accused of molesting a kid use the excuse of identifying as a kid? No. And if the court didn't take it, could they sue for some sort of discrimination? No. No, the statutes don't mess around with identity at all in the United States. Zarther, can we do something fun next time? I love doing fun things. And if you did not catch it, check out my stream with Ethan Van Syver. Watch a replay of that. That was a very fun stream. And if you want to see me very angry, just watch the video I put up late last night, early this morning about the Cody Wilson thing. I do hope to still have Cody on, but I'm not sure when that will be. It was going to be yesterday, but if you didn't see, he launched the sales site on DefCAD, which basically obviates the court order. It's brilliantly done, and a nice middle finger right to the judge and the federal government and all of the attorneys generals who deserve nothing but middle fingers on this case. So he was busy launching DefCAD and was not able to hook up with me for an interview, but hopefully that will be coming soon. I think that'll be interesting. Why are we doing this on the day that Asterios is in the clear? This should be happy day. Oh, I guess he is in the clear, isn't he? I forgot that was today. Sorry. Javier Miedo, in a morbid way to look at things, can a lawyer who's into child porn intentionally examine the evidence to legally glance that type of content? Probably, but I believe they would have to glance, they would have to see that evidence. I believe it would be maintained at the government. Whatever charging entity would hold on to that evidence, and they would have to review it at that place. Like, they wouldn't release that information, if I understand how that would work correctly. Gatscat says the court doesn't mess around with identity. What about Chelsea Manning? I mean, in child pornography cases. Tillip, if you clone yourself and your clone starts using your copyrighted works, can you DMCA yourself? I don't want to find out. Jonah Need, good stream. Hope the next one is a little less dark. The next one will obviously be less dark. But, yeah. So, guys, what I will suggest is give me feedback in the comments, if you would, about whether we should do more of these streams or not. I'm inclined to. They won't all be dark and terrible. This one was dark and terrible. But, you know, there are lots of people on the Sex Offender Registry who could be on there for things that are not as horrifying as this. And I personally am just fascinated at how the government builds cases against some of these people. And the things that people fall for, like Vidman06, seems to me like I wouldn't trust that person at all. What do you think about California going to a cashless bail system? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it at the time. Today is the 29th, the day being past midnight for half Americans currently. Does that mean George has 20-something more hours to file? I don't remember. So he filed... Okay, so the judge's order was on the 9th, and he has 20 days. So yeah, he technically has until the end of the 29th. Gatscat says more streams are better than less streams. If you want to make this a repeat thing, it needs a point other than you. The point of this is honestly just to learn about how the government finds, tracks down, and builds a case against people like this. Because it's not as simple as this person had child pornography on their computer. Right? Like, it's not that simple. How does the government do it? How did they identify it? I hope that kind of came through here in how they do this. Leave a like if you think this should be a series. Javier Miedo. Oh, yes, you asked this question earlier. Niels Abel quickly says, dark but informative. Thank you. You're welcome, buddy. Hopefully we'll have less dark commentary soon. Javier Miedo says, if servers like Google Drives or open access storage has child porn, how would possession laws work? It's a very, very good question. But basically, if you have access to it, that would be... Typically, possession means that you have access to it. And they can prove it beyond a doubt. I think what they would do is they would request access information from Google, try to link that up with IP or MAC addresses, who is accessing the data when, and they would try and do it that way. Ketchup Pizza says it was 2006, different time. Everyone was a boomer then. Ryan English says it's interesting, but do you think they're ethical in how they go about it? No. No, I don't. I don't think that the government is ethical in how they go about a lot of prosecutions. I think how they started this prosecution might have been unethical. I think the sending of actual child porn, when it seems like, to me, It seems to me that they had a full case and all they needed was a pretense for going into the house. Here's what I will say about them sending the actual porn. Okay, what I think happened is I think they said that upon the recipient's acceptance and signature of the package, we will have probable cause to believe that child pornography was knowingly in the possession of recipient and in the house, and that is grounds for the search warrant. That's the main reason I could think of sending it. That's what I'm guessing is going on. But it seems to me like they could just lie about what's on the tape. They lie about everything else anyway. They could just lie about it and say that the recipient intended to possess, and we have plenty of evidence in this case to suggest that recipient has other material. Mainly because he stated over and over and over, I have all this stuff if you have Kazaa. I know I've got stuff for you. So, and he sent them material in interstate commerce. He sent them a disc with horrific things on it. That alone was enough to charge and convict. Super Iron Bob says, speaking of tech, with the tech workers who work with the government on this, get a lot of mental health support from the companies. If you continue, please don't let it get to you too hard. Don't worry about my mental health, buddy. I'm half sociopath already. But no, I know they do receive lots of mental health. And I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't in a very good mental place personally. So Javier Miedo, from what you've stated, in theory, can someone send a child porn link disguised as something like hot goss info, then call feds for pedo? In theory, yes, but there are laws on the books for misleading links and misleading file names used to describe child pornography. And that person who received it would then have a defense. Although I will say that the defense would be, you don't want to be in that situation. Okay? Like, you don't want to ever defend yourself against a child pornography charge. And you could still potentially, in theory, be charged. Now, this is why you immediately call an attorney and you follow their freaking advice. And not go to Reddit and not post all over the place, because those posts might be evidence of delay. All right? So you call an attorney and you figure out what to do immediately if that ever happens to you. Eric Blum, did this apply the interstate commerce clause? Some of the charges did. Some of the charges involving the mailing of the material back and forth did apply interstate commerce. The final charge applied interstate commerce in a roundabout way. It stated that the offending material was produced. It was produced using materials shipped in interstate commerce. And trust me, no matter what, if you used a camera, some material for it was shipped in interstate or foreign commerce. Like, as the camera is likely made probably in Japan or Korea or China, one of those three, and then shipped here. Otherwise, various parts of the thing, or it was shipped from, the camera box, even if it was somehow made in the United States, was shipped from one state to another for distribution. All of that. And if not, some part in your computer was, and it's stored on your computer. Some part of your hard drive came from a different state. Some part, your graphics card came from a different country. All sorts of things like that. So that's how they get around it. With child porn stuff, they really, it is broad. The reach is broad. Ryan English says, it seems incoherent to say CP re-abuses kids on one hand and on the other distribute it. Yeah. Yep. It's a huge ethical problem, I think, with the government. And the fact that they maintain it rather than destroying it outright bothers me. And because, there's all sorts of jokes we can make about the person who maintains it and has to archive it and who has to describe it and who has to write the descriptions and all that, because they have to review this data. At the same time, someone mentioned before, the government workers who deal with this stuff get tons of mental help because it's horrible. It's horrible. Horrible stuff. So, joking and memeing aside of that person whose job it is, that's someone's job. They're subjected to the darkness. And if they're not a creep, it's damaging. And that's a hard thing to deal with too. Let's see. Sinan Desert says it could also be to not tip off the pedophile. If one of them catches on, they could spread the word and a lot of others could potentially get away. Sure, absolutely. Ketchup Pizza says, does the same thing happen with drugs and other illicit things? I have to imagine yes. I haven't had to deal with that. All of the drug charges I've dealt with are very straightforward. Neil Zabel says, can you talk more about how intent doesn't matter if child porn is found in your possession? What's the point? Some crimes are crimes of intent, and some crimes are crimes just because of the circumstances. And the government has decided that child pornography is one of those things that is so offensive to public safety and the safety of children in particular that the mere act of possessing it, whether you intend to or not, is sufficient. Now, we can distinguish this from possession of controlled substance like marijuana, for example. In Minnesota, under the Minnesota possession laws for controlled substance, any controlled substance, including heroin, methamphetamines, all of that stuff, you have to knowingly possess an illegal substance. Now, you don't have to know the substance is illegal, so there's a distinction there, but you have to know, like, you can't say, well, I didn't know meth was illegal. The question is not whether you knew that meth that you possessed was illegal. The question was, did you knowingly possess methamphetamine? If you knowingly possess methamphetamine, methamphetamine is illegal, you fulfilled possession. Child pornography is a little different. They kind of get rid of that knowing aspect of it because they have determined it to be so offensive. There's no intention required for it. Do you possess it? Do you possess it? Now, the argument would be that my possession was incidental because I received it and found out what it was and immediately destroyed it and contacted an attorney and law enforcement and all that stuff. Then you're no longer in possession of it. So that's hard to do, hard to prove a crime. Two, you have an affirmative defense that you did get rid of it immediately. It's like intent, but it's not quite the same. Okay. Steven Severin says this was very informative about how law enforcement deals with catching pedos. I'd be interested in seeing a series or whatever you decide for this content. Thanks for the input, buddy. Tillip says, what is the substance? What if the substance is a gallon of PCP? Probably illegal. Grug, I remember you had that case of the hemp oil. What happened to the last I heard of it, you were waiting on some analysis. Yes, the hemp oil charges were dropped. My clients ended up pleading guilty to possession of firearms as users of a controlled substance. They had very favorable plea agreements. They do no jail time. They had no fines. They basically have a year of probation, and the charges will be completely dismissed off of their record. They will not be prohibited from owning firearms or anything in the future. So all around good results for them. Gatsget says, how do I get a job reviewing the drugs and drug cases? Would I be immune if I tossed a police car through the window while on PCP? That's a good question. Contact your local FBI. Javier Miedo says, what happens if the child porn was someone that appeared to be an adult, mid-teen looking like an adult? It gets fuzzy, but the rule is not how they appear. The rule is what they are. And to give some deference to the government, part of why they maintain an archive of this material is because they do maintain a list of known child pornography so that when the same video that has been copied and distributed shows up, they know who the victim is. They know the details about the victim. They know the details. So there isn't a defense that, well, they looked 18 or whatever. They say, no, that's a 14-year-old girl. This is her name. This is her date of birth. We know it because we actually have this. We've seen it before. So that's one of the defenses for it. I don't know that maintaining the child pornography is necessary for that defense. Gatscat says, I think the FBI will already be in contact after this stream. Lucifer Love Monkey says, who is that porn actress who made her films when she was underage? I have no idea. Ryan English, what do you think of convicting teens of making CP of themselves? that's a big controversy and a big problem. And maybe we'll run into one of those cases. That's one I really have a problem with, like where, let's say you've got two 15-year-olds who are dating. They take a nude selfie and send it to the other one. Should they be charged with child porn? I don't know. I don't know about that. That seems like it's consensual. And the weird thing is, if those two 15-year-olds were just to be in the same room and have sex with each other, that would be okay pretty much under every single law in the United States. But for them to take a nude selfie and send it to the other one would not. So that's a disconnect. And that's really, that's a generational problem and a law lag problem. The law has not caught up to the modern era in which kids are readily able to do this type of stuff. But the question would be, if a 15-year-old boy or girl took a nude selfie, sent it to someone, and then they distributed it to adults, and the adults were knowingly consuming this picture of an underage person, then does it become child porn? Probably. But the law has to catch up to that and has to figure that out. It's not there yet. All right. Steven Severin says, it's almost like How to Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen, but finding out the court deets and more information than having Chris saying, gotcha. Yeah, and all of these people go to jail. The How to Catch a Predator thing, those people don't always go to jail. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up this stream. Thanks for bearing with me. I know some of the content was really tough and dark. But again, the reason I didn't redact the content is because we have to keep a perspective of what these are. Like, it's really easy to make certain crimes into memes. Child porn, being conflated with lolly and hentai and stuff like that. You can have any opinion you want about someone who's into lolly hentai illustrations. Call them a degenerate all day. I don't care. You won't find me batting an eye about it. I don't care. But it's really easy to conflate someone who's interested in illustrations, which do not involve a real child being really damaged by adults who should be providing care to them. It's easy to mix that up with what actually happens in child porn. Child pornography is not a victimless crime. It's actually horrifying, and the details of it are disgusting and very dark. They're very dark. So when we talk about when people like Mike Cernovich call everyone a pedophile, and this is a meme. I'm not actually attacking Cernovich here. I don't care about Mike Cernovich. But when people like Mike Cernovich are accused of, let me rephrase that, are accused of calling everybody a pedophile, it waters down the reality of what's going on. When we conflate this stuff, it waters down the reality of what's going on. And when James Gunn makes jokes about pedophilia, we have to remember what is actually happening and why there's such a visceral reaction to it. Because if you know if you break past the joke, and I am not above jokes of any stripe about any subject. Don't get me wrong. This is not a moral condemnation of jokes about pedophilia or anything else. But it's helpful to have that lingering in the back of our mind, what we're really talking about and why people are really, really viscerally offended by it. Because if you know what goes on with it, it's destructive and disgusting. And we got to always keep the reality in perspective while we're trying to make light of how dark our world can get. So thank you all for joining me. I'll address, there's 4 quick questions. Zarthar says, what if I created pornography of myself as a child, waited like 10 years, and then distributed it to other people? That is definitely child pornography. Lucifer Love Monkey says, Bayshadman has a video series looking at the interrogations of the Catch a Predator people. Pseudo Meme says, what if the same person who is 15 keeps the images for 3 years? It matters what the age they are in the image, in the production. It doesn't matter what age they are later. You can make a moral or ethical argument about the victimhood of that person, certainly. But that as far as the law is concerned, the image, the age in the image or the age in the video reproduction is what matters. And then Ryan English finally says, what happens when deepfakes tech makes it possible to produce CG child porn without any kids involved? I don't know. I don't know. So maybe the good upside of that is that there are no more physical victims of child pornography. Maybe that's a good thing in that respect, but I don't know how the law will handle it. What I can tell you is the law will be at least a decade behind, whatever that is. So once deepfake technology gets that good, it will still be illegal for at least a decade. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining me. I will probably be streaming on Twitch in a little bit. I just need to get a little food in my stomach. Not sure what I'm going to play yet, but come hang out if you want. Or don't. Whatever. Finally, I'll be on the Kill stream Thursday. The Ralph Retort Kill stream. I'm not sure what we're talking about, but I will be on it Thursday as a full guest, so I will be there for the full time until they kick me off or whatever. Until the audience calls me a Jew lawyer and throws me off the stream. But I will be there, so come check that out as well. Tomorrow I will be seeing Hamilton, so I will not be streaming. But you guys have a good night. I will talk to you later. Peace. Don't do child porn.